This episode is sponsored by Linode. Linode is offering listeners of this podcast a $20 credit, which is good for 4 free months at their lowest plan. Their plans start at 1 gigabyte of RAM for $5 a month. You can get your servers in any of their 10 data centers, and their high memory plans start at 16 gigabytes. Get a server running in under a minute. They do hourly billing with a monthly cap on all plans and add-on services like backups, node balancers, Longview, etc. VMs for full control, running Docker containers, encrypted disks, VPNs, etc. You can run a private Git server. They provide native SSD storage, 200 gigabit network, and Intel E5 processors. They have 24/7 friendly support, even on holidays, and a 7-day money-back guaranteed. So go check them out at linode.com/JavaScriptJabber. Hey everybody, and welcome to another My JavaScript Story. This week we're talking to Quincy Larson. Quincy, do you want to say hello?
Hello, everyone.
Now, we had you on the show for episode 204. We talked about Free Code Camp. Still doing that. Looks like everything's going pretty well over there.
Yeah, we're growing. We just hit the 3-year mark back in October, and the community is growing very rapidly. We're having thousands of people who are getting their first developer job, thousands more people who already are working as developers who are getting promoted or changing to a more advanced position at a different company. So things are going great.
That's awesome. Just as a side note, on a little bit of a personal note, we did the interview back last year, and my wife, her best friend, lives just around the corner, and they hang out like at least once a week. You know, she disappears at 8 p.m. and comes home after I've gone to bed and gone to sleep. This is usually like 1 a.m. or something. But her friend was learning how to code with Free Code Camp. And so I got to do the name drop and go, oh, I know that guy.
Awesome.
But yeah, I mean, I know that it's helping and serving a lot of folks. So before I start asking you the questions about your background, if people want to go check out Free Code Camp, if they're interested in learning how to code, where do they go? Like, what's the best way to get started there?
Sure. Just go to freecodecamp.org and start coding. You'll be coding within 20 or 30 seconds of signing up and creating your account. And there are no ads. It's completely free. We don't sell your data to anybody. I send an email out every week with some links to some articles that our community has published and some videos we published on YouTube. But other than that, we won't bother you, and you can unsubscribe to that if you don't want them. It's basically our goal is to just build a huge community of people contributing to the project and get more people donating to Free Code Camp so that we can grow our team and offer more and more resources to you as someone who's learning how to code.
Nice. So I guess the other question that I have before now I have a whole bunch of questions about Free Code Camp, but I'll keep it to one more, and then we'll get into your background and we can come back around to it when we talk about what you're doing these days. But then how do you sustain it, right? I mean, I'm assuming you're doing this full time because it sounds like there's a lot going on. So yeah.
Yeah, we have wonderful donors who give small amounts of money every month. We've got about 3,000 people now who are giving $3, $10 a month, and in aggregate that adds up, and it helps cover a lot in terms of covering our servers and various services we use. And also we have 3 people working full time on Free Code Camp now, and we're hoping to continue to hire more campers who've been contributing for the past few years and expand the team so that we can grow the resource. If you look at an organization like Wikipedia, for example, they have hundreds of people working there, and they also have 100,000 volunteers who are editing the articles. And as a result, Wikipedia is growing and improving so rapidly, and we hope Free Code Camp can be a similar success story.
That's awesome. All right, well, let's get into Quincy, the developer extraordinaire. So back in the day, you got into programming. How did that happen? Did somebody introduce you to it? Did you just find it? What happened there?
So I was a school director. I'd been a teacher and a school director for about 10 years, and I had been moving around to different schools in the U.S. and in China. And I was in Santa Barbara, California, and I was running an intensive English program for adults who were getting ready to go to college and graduate school and just needed to improve their English a little bit. And we had some problems. Mostly, there was just a whole lot of administrative overhead, a lot of teachers and administrators spending a ton of time doing routine stuff on computers. And I decided there's got to be a way that we can help free these teachers and administrators from their desks so they can interact with the students more and help them more. And so that's what I set out to do. I just started Googling around and figured out some ways, hacked together some very basic Excel scripts. There's a Windows-based tool called AutoHotkey, and it allowed me to kind of program keystrokes and mouse clicks and things like that to fill out government forms and things like that for immigration purposes. And that's really how I got started. And just with my very cursory knowledge of programming that I built on the fly, before this I had no knowledge of programming. I was so bad with technology that my wife had to set up the Wi-Fi router in our apartment.
Nice.
So just learning this sort of stuff, that really just revealed to me how powerful technology was. And suddenly our school was the most efficient school in the entire school system. All the students were super happy and we were winning awards. And it was just because I spent, a few weekends digging through Stack Overflow.
That's amazing. So you start getting the school organized and automating a lot of these processes so that you're getting more done, being able to serve more people, which I think a lot of businesses, nonprofits, et cetera, can benefit from. And once they start heading down that road, I think we see those benefits. But how do you get from sort of the productivity hacks and Excel programming to JavaScript?
Well, in my case, I after doing all this and figuring out that there was so much low-hanging fruit in terms of optimizing schools and helping reduce a lot of the tedium associated with running schools, I decided to leave that job and just focus full-time on trying to build, a suite of software that could help do that so that I could, just go out to different schools or sell it to school systems so that they could improve their efficiency. And along the way of doing that, that's when I realized, first of all, I needed to learn to code a lot better than I was able to. And second, that learning to code was very challenging. There were a lot of great introductory resources. There were a lot of great advanced resources, books you could pull off a shelf, advanced talks on, sites like Pluralsight and O'Reilly, Safari, and places like that. And but there wasn't much in the way of like intermediate resources to bridge the gap between an absolute beginner and somebody who would be able to go out and just pull resources off the shelf and learn new skills. So that's when I started really focusing on the problem of learning to code. And through various iterations of different projects, eventually I created Free Code Camp, and that started to get some traction.
That's interesting. So I think one of the things that you're probably best known for is Free Code Camp. I mean, I don't know. As I talk to people, that's what they'll bring up if they know who you are. So before we dig into Free Code Camp, I'm curious, are there other things that you've done in JavaScript that you want to talk about, or should we just go headlong into what Free Code Camp is and what they do?
Nothing really noteworthy. Almost all of my time and effort over the past 3 years, and really before that, was preparing for launching something like Free Code Camp, and then just maintaining and helping expand the community and the platform.
Awesome. So Free Code Camp, it kind of comes out of this desire to help people to learn to code. There are a lot of things there. You put it up for free. You've taught people how to code in JavaScript primarily. What was the driver behind some of these decisions to do it the way that you did it?
Well, accessibility, not just in terms of like web accessibility, but in terms of anybody being able to jump in and start coding regardless of, what device they're on, regardless of their socioeconomic background and whether they had a credit card, because most people in the world don't have card numbers on hand that they can punch in. So those kinds of considerations. We just wanted to reach as many people as possible with the hope that a small percentage of those people would be able to give back, and that would sustain the project for everybody. It's very much modeled after Wikipedia, to some extent organizations like Mozilla, and there were a lot of education platforms that were completely free, like Khan Academy and Code.org, that I admired. And so I thought, we can help a whole lot of people at scale if we reduce the barriers.
Right. And
one of the really big barriers was just getting a development environment set up. Coming from like being a Rails developer, I've spent much more time than I'm comfortable saying just trying to get C libraries to load properly, and trying to fix things with like RBEnv or RVM and tools like that, right? And I did not want for the first experience for somebody who's trying to learn to code to be staring at stack traces in a command line and having to uninstall and reinstall packages or dependencies and things like that.
Gotcha. So yeah, so you build this up, you build it in JavaScript. I haven't looked to see what you teach as far as like on the front end versus the back end. But yeah, do you want to walk through the curriculum just a little bit and let people know what is being taught there?
Sure. So we're getting ready to launch our new updated curriculum, which is more than 1,000 different interactive coding challenges. And it's a significant expansion from our current one, which we've had for about a year and a half. We're actually really far behind in launching this, but we just want to make sure it's really bug free, because a lot of schools and universities and other institutions are using Free Code Camp, and we don't want to embarrass them and the employees who recommended Free Code Camp as a curricular decision to their bosses, things like that. So the curriculum is 6 certificates. The first one is responsive web design, which just focuses on HTML and CSS and has some basic visual design, has some basic accessibility and concepts like that. And it doesn't involve using any libraries. It's just HTML and CSS. And then we have the JavaScript algorithms and data structures certificate, which just focuses on JavaScript. There's no front-end component at all in that certificate. And you just build up different algorithms and get experience with different data structures and learn functional programming and object-oriented programming and ES6 and things like that. And then there's the front-end libraries, which covers React and Redux and jQuery and Bootstrap and a couple other popular libraries. And then there's the data visualization certificate, which is focused mostly on D3 and building data visualizations. And there's the API and microservice certificate that covers just Node and Express and building basic APIs. And then there's the Information Security and Quality Assurance Certificate, which covers basic security using Helmet.js, which is a great library that covers a lot of the low-hanging fruit in security, covers some basic encryption, and then testing.
Right.
So those are the 6 certificates. Each of them involve building 5 different projects, and everything else is optional.
Right. Yeah. So just looking at this, I was just digging through here. So one of them is like data visualization. So it has React. It's build a markdown previewer, build a camper leaderboard, build a recipe box, build game of life, build a roguelike dungeon crawler game. And so you just get those done, and then you have this certificate.
Exactly. You build the 5 projects, each of them, and on beta.freecodecamp.org, which is where this curriculum I'm talking about is, you build the certificate, or you build the projects, and each of them has a standardized test suite that runs against your code.
Oh, gotcha.
You just pull those tests in through a CDN link, and then you can kind of build it in more of a TDD way, where you've got like a failing test and you go red light to green light. And then you can kind of step through that way, and when you're done. That's a big improvement. The old projects were more ambiguous because you just had user stories, and it was up to you to determine whether you'd met that user story. But now we have evaluation criteria for each of the projects.
Right. So you mentioned that you have 3 people working on Free Code Camp full time, and then you have volunteers that help out as well. I'm curious, how does the work breakdown work? I mean, are you mostly the front man for the project, or do you work mostly on curriculum, or are you doing a lot of the coding on the back end, or, and where do the other people who are working on this full time fall in line?
Sure. So everybody other than me is developing full time. That's like all they do is work on the code base, and we have a few other projects. Like we have the Free Code Camp Guide, which is our documentation app, which is a Gatsby.js app, and it has thousands of articles on different programming related topics. It's kind of like a little wiki that we run through GitHub, and you can open PRs if you want to add articles and things like that. But they're just Berkeley Martinez and Stuart over in Northern Ireland. He just joined our team recently. He'd been contributing to the project for like 2 years, and we finally had the resources to bring him on, so we're thrilled to have him. They are just working on the code base.
The code base being the platform that runs Free Code Camp?
Right. The main, if you go to github.com/freecodecamp/freecodecamp, that repository.
Okay.
And then they do some basic DevOps and stuff too. I do a little bit of coding, not nearly as much as I used to, because I'm kind of pulled in some other directions.
Right.
One of which is running the Medium publication, which is we publish probably 3 or 4 articles a day,
right,
from our community, and we edit everything, and we're pretty selective about what we publish. But we have an editorial staff now that I've kind of gradually put together and helped train, and so we make a lot of editorial decisions together. But that involves a lot of communication overhead and actual editing. And we also have a YouTube channel that we publish 1 to 3 videos a week on. So that involves some going out and talking to people and seeing if we can potentially syndicate their videos, or finding people who are interested in streaming, things like that. Almost all of this just comes from within the Free Code Camp community. And then there's just the day-to-day talking with different people and answering questions and doing support and things like that. So I'm all over the place. I have a to-do list. I wake up every day, clear it, and then I just go through, all these different inboxes and make sure that things are getting done.
Right.
So often you talk about like the deep work of sitting down and grappling with the problem for a long time and having big, long, uninterrupted stretches of time to do that. And then there's also kind of the managerial work where you're just jumping from task to task. I'm unfortunately at this point, I'm mostly stuck in the managerial mindset. Doing one little task at a time. And if I'm lucky and I can get like a 6-hour stretch of time, I'll write an article. And I like to do that on Medium.
Awesome. Yeah, I guess awesome depends on whether or not you really enjoy doing that. But, it's definitely interesting seeing where a lot of this can wind up and where you can, where you want to spend your time.
Yeah, I'll tell you that I love pretty much every aspect of this. Some people would probably find it tedious to answer, 100 emails a day from different campers and things like that, which is one of the things I do. But I just love, for me, even if answering a question for the 1,000th time may seem a little tedious, I have to remember I'm helping somebody, and, they're getting way more out of me giving this quick answer than I'm giving in sitting down to write it, So it's a net positive. And I think that as long as everything I'm doing has like a net positive effect, and a lot of the things that I spend my time on kind of scale up and percolate through the community, I think it's absolutely worth it.
Awesome. So are there things you are working on right now that you want to talk about? Yeah,
well, primarily what I was talking about earlier, beta.freecodecamp.org, the new updated platform with a new updated curriculum. Really, we just have so much on that branch, the staging branch, that needs to be merged in. It's about a year's worth of new features and curricular additions that it's one of those kind of second system syndrome things where we just had so much and we weren't able to find a convenient time to release it. So just getting that out is a huge part of my focus these days. And then the other thing we're working on that I'm really excited about is we're going to be significantly expanding the Free Code Camp study group directory, which currently, if you go to it, it's just going to help you find the nearest study group and direct you to their Facebook group, which is how we generally organize these. Some people have meetup.com pages. Some people have WeChat pages if they're in China, for example. What we want to do is we want to significantly expand the resources for our study groups, so they're also able to share information more readily and also have a much more nuanced presence in the directory rather than just a link to their Facebook page. So we're doing a lot of research and trying to figure out how we can support those different study groups. We've got about 2,000 study groups around the world in various degrees of activity. Some of them are extremely active and meet twice a week. Some of them just haven't met more than 1 or 2 times. We just want to figure out good ways to take insights and competence that's built up in one group and spread it consistently around to all the other groups so that they can all benefit from that.
That's awesome. I think there are at least 2 Free Code Camp groups that, I see come up in various JavaScript related meetups here in Utah. So, and I'm sure there are others that I'm just not aware of.
Yeah. And in a vast majority of cases, it's just some bold individual who stepped out and created a meetup group or started posting regular events on Facebook, and that has kicked off that kind of reaction. What will hopefully be a sustained chain reaction in their given city or even their neighborhood. And we really want to give them a lot more support than we are now.
Right.
We want to make it so much easier for them, and we want to make sure that that anything that they need is provided for. And as we get more donations, hopefully we'll be able to have more resources to send them Free Code Camp swag and potentially bring them under our nonprofit umbrella, so they'll be able to get better venues at libraries and places like that require nonprofit status in order to use them.
Sounds great. All right. Well, the last section of the show is picks. Do you have some things you want to shout out about? Do you run your own freelance business? Or maybe you're thinking about picking up some business on the side? Well, then you need FreshBooks. FreshBooks is the quickest and easiest way to get invoices out to your clients. It's easy to use. It works anywhere, available from any device, on the desktop, iPhone, iPad, Android, and all of your data is backed up and secure. And it makes it really easy to get organized and get paid. You'll be tracking time, logging expenses, and invoicing your clients in no time. You can also save time billing, freeing up several days per month to focus on the work that you love, and you get paid faster. FreshBooks customers are paid on average 5 days faster because there's a link on the invoice that says pay me now. And it's a great way to grow your business. Plus, FreshBooks is offering a 30-day trial. That's right, 30-day trial if you try them out. So go to gofreshbooks.com/devchat and enter devchat in the How Did You Hear About Us section. Once again, for a 30-day trial, go to gofreshbooks.com/devchat and enter devchat in the How Did You Hear About Us section.
Absolutely. There is so much research and development going on in using JavaScript as a machine learning language. And there's a good talk that I guess maybe you can put in the show notes on the state of machine learning in JavaScript. But there are some really cool libraries out there that can take advantage of like the GPU of a computer through the browser, and that can do all kinds of advanced neural networks right in the client side without a network connection. So you, for example, there's a website called it's a tool called TensorFire. It's TENS .o.rs, like a .rs domain, tensors. And you can go there and you can play rock, scissors, paper with the computer by holding up your hand in front of the webcam.
Oh, nice.
And just making the rock, scissors, paper. And it's very reliably able to understand whether you're making rock, scissors, or paper. And it works completely in the browser. I think that there are going to be a tremendous number of applications of machine learning in the browser that we'll be able to push to people who have limited internet connectivity or no internet connectivity for like offline mode and things like that. So it's going to open up a wide range of applications. I'm really excited about it.
Awesome. I'm going to jump in here with a few picks of my own. I mentioned I was at CES. There are a lot of interesting things going on. Interestingly enough, I had a bunch of people reach out and said, we're putting AI into our stuff. And so I was like, oh, well, I want to come see it. Well, it turns out that when they said AI, what they meant was they connected Google Home or Amazon Alexa, which is exactly what I was looking for. But yeah, just kind of fun stuff there. I'm going to talk a little bit about travel, simply because I'm going to be doing a bit of travel here this next year, and I have some resources that I want to call out for that. The first one is when you go to CES and you're looking for a place to stay, if you don't book right away into a hotel, and even when you do, you're still going to wind up paying, $100, $200 a night, to get into a hotel at, for that week of CES. And that's pretty much right after they announce. If you wait a month or two, you won't be able to get a doghouse for less than like $400 a night. Okay. So, I kind of worked around that, and I booked a condo on VRBO, which is the vacation rental thing. So I just booked it for the full week, and that was an incredibly good deal. It was considerably less than what it would have cost. Next year, incidentally, I'm probably actually going to book a hotel in Mesquite, which is about an hour outside of Las Vegas, because those hotel rooms, even the week of CES, were like $27 a night. And, eating and staying in Mesquite is considerably less expensive than Las Vegas. So if you're interested in going down to Las Vegas and you're going to have a way of driving back and forth, Mesquite is actually a great way to go. I remember as a kid, we'd go down to Las Vegas periodically, or we'd go through Las Vegas heading down to like Disneyland and stuff, and they'd have the cheap buffets and all that stuff. And you can still get some of that downtown Las Vegas, which is the Fremont Street experience. If you're looking at any of that. I live close to Salt Lake City, so, driving to California or driving down to Las Vegas isn't a major trip for me. So I've been down there many times. But yeah, most of that stuff has moved out to Mesquite. So those kinds of deals that you're thinking of with the cheap hotel rooms, cheap, nice hotel rooms, and the cheap buffets and stuff, Mesquite. But I'm going to pick, so I guess I'm picking Mesquite, but I'm also picking VRBO, vrbo.com. So if you're looking for kind of an inexpensive way to stay down there, the other thing is usually wind up with a kitchen and stuff, so you can cook your own meals, and that'll save you some money too. The other thing that I'm going to pick, I'm going out to NG Atlanta for, the conference about Angular that they're doing out there at the end of this month. And I booked most of my travel through upside.com. And that actually worked out pretty nicely. There are two things that I like about it. One is if you're booking business travel, you can just call up one of their navigators and they just take care of stuff. So it turned out that my wife's best friend from college lives near Charlotte, and I'm flying through Charlotte to get to Atlanta. And it turned out that we're on the same flight. We didn't plan it that way, but we are, from Salt Lake to Charlotte. And so I just called them up and said, hey, I have a friend. She's sitting in this seat. Can I get the seat next to her? And they just worked it out. They called the airline. They made it all happen. I ran into a couple of hiccups with the coupon code that I used from one of the shows that I listened to, and they fixed all that and upgraded my room kind of as a gee, we're real sorry. So I'm staying in a nice a nice suite in Atlanta. But anyway, that all worked out. So upside.com is the other one. I guess that was a little bit long for picks, but there you go. So Quincy, I guess one last thing. I know we all know freecodecamp.org now, but are there other places where people should go if they want to see what you're working on or follow your tweets or GitHubs or whatever?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, everybody can follow me on Twitter. I'm OSSIA is my handle, Osia. And I tweet pretty regularly there. I tweet as little as necessary because I don't want to flood people. But almost everything is focused on technology and programming.
Awesome. And then the one other thing I want to call out is the Free Code Camp Medium blog, because there are usually pretty awesome articles there. So how do people find that?
Thank you. It's medium.freecodecamp.org.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. We'll come at you with another story. Next week, we're talking to Gordon Zhu, and he's got a JavaScript tutorial as well. We've had him on the show. But thanks again, and It's always great to talk to you, Quincy.
Likewise, Joe.
Bandwidth for this segment is provided by CacheFly, the world's fastest CDN. Deliver your content fast with CacheFly. Visit CACHEFLY.com to learn more.